Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Bracket Racing Underground with your hosts Lee Zane, Jason Lawrence, and I'm James Lawrence. Today we'll be putting my decals on my junior.
We'll also be interviewing my father on how he got started in the racing, which basically trickled down to me getting started, James getting started, and I'll be getting my son Nicholas started as well. I'll post up a couple of videos again from racing from the past couple seasons. I'm actually going to put one up from when I ran Parker's Dragster back at the Spring Fling in 2023. We'll check in with Lee, let's see what he's got going on, and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this episode as much as you enjoyed the last one. All right, everybody. Well, we're going to start putting decals on the car. Ask my dad a few questions again. See how we all got started down this mess of racing. So anyway, so how did it all begin? What were you? How'd you get started? What made you want to do drag racing? What again? Just where did it all begin?
Well, back in the 60s, I didn't live too far from the Trenton Fairgrounds, Trenton Speedway, where I could hear the cars running at the Speedway. And when the Indy cars would come, I would take my mother's transistor radio and sit on the back porch where I could listen to the engines in the cars live, but listen to the radio of who was winning and what was going on. So I always loved racing. I started out with wanting Indy cars and open wheel the USAC sprint cars. So that's kind of where it started, my interest in it. And I got to go see a few races, but we really didn't, my parents, we didn't really go racing and, watching it. My father did take me, like I said, to Trenton a couple times to watch the Indy cars. We did go to Flemington a few times to watch the dirt modifieds. But that's kind of where it started. Then, I always had that interest, but there was just other things going on through life. When I was a kid, I always wanted a mini bike. I always wanted a go-kart. I lived across the street from power lines, and they used to ride dirt bikes and mini bikes up and down, but the cops would also come along and chase people. So my mother said, no mini bike, no go-karts. I'm not having the cops knocking on my door. So I never had that. Jump forward a little bit, funny story. I've had everything since. Anyway, so when I got my license, well, actually before I got my license, I was 14, 15 years old, and my aunt and uncle took me to Atco Raceway, and I saw the first drag racing. And I really enjoyed that. And it piqued my interest because these weren't cars that were just on the track. These were cars that drove in and went down the track. Even the ones that had little wider tires, was jacked up in the back at the time in the 70s, that was cool. And so that really piqued my interest because it was something that I thought I could do and wasn't so far-fetched as Indy and sprint cars. So that's where it started with the drag racing. Then once I got my license, and I was obviously in high school at the time, and wanted to work on the car, but I just couldn't afford to do that. And then I went to college, same thing. So when I got done, I was working, and I started to little by little get some parts and pieces. Now again,
This was your '71 Chevelle that we still own, we still have. It's out in the other garage. Someday we'll get back together. But yeah, this is a '71 Chevelle, which was your first car, right?
That was my first car.
It's the car he drove to high school as well. So this is the car he is talking about.
So I started to work on the car. As I said, I did not have a mini bike. I didn't have anything where I could actually work on the car or on the engine or anything. So it was like, okay, so I want to do this, and I want to make it so I can drive it on the street and I can take it to the track and race it. So it had it was a 307 with a power glide and a nothing rear, just a stock 71 Chevelle Malibu rear. So I took the 307 apart in my parents' shed, took it apart, I put new bearings, new rings, but it was the stock pistons with 0 compression. I put a Crane Fireball cam, Holley intake manifold, and a 780 Holley, and blackjack headers. I took the power glide out, and I put a B&M converter, street converter, and a B&M manual reverse valve body 400 in it. I got a 1967 Chevelle 12-bolt rear, stuck that in it, and we put 411 gears in it. I had somebody come, I never did that before, I had somebody come and show me how to do it. I've done it ever since. So now I have the car. I'm driving it on the street. Problem is, it was all around about the time where emissions started to get, come into play. This is in the late 70s. So it wound up not being on the street very long. So then it went to just driving it to the track. So I started, I was only going 16s, 15s with it, with the 307. And we started out, I was having it flat towed. A friend of ours had a pickup truck, and we flat towed it to McGuire Air Force Base, which they used a old runway and turned it into a drag strip, primarily for the servicemen that were on base. So we would go there and run, and I met somebody there. I knew nothing about as far as, how to actually race. So I met Wes Gum, who walked me through and helped me out a lot to get started with the racing part. And I would just go to the straddle rides, and then once in a while we would go from there, because you'd go in the morning, and would go to ATGO and run their program at night on Saturdays. So from that point, it's just grown from there. I never had a whole lot of success.
Oh my God!
And I started to understand it more. My last race with the Chevelle was Jason's very first race, same day, with his junior. And I never got it back together. But from that point, running with Jason, that's where I started to learn more about how this drag racing, bracket racing really worked. And then it's just taken off from there. So that's pretty much how I got started.
You have any questions for Pop Pop? You want to ask him? What question would you like to ask?
When did you start to retire?
What, from racing?
Yeah.
Well, he just said it was. So this is where my story starts, basically. It was 1993, right? And
94.
94, sorry. So it was 1994, and I made my first pass in a junior. It was a time run. It was a time run for a points day. At that point, you didn't have to get a license like the juniors do now. You also had to be 8 then. Couldn't be
7.
5 or 6 to start. And so I made my pass, and then Pop Pop went up to make his time run. And that's when the motor expired. In his Chevelle. And unfortunately, that marked the end of the Chevelle, and it's been basically sitting ever since. 12 bolt in that Chevelle is what's in the Camaro now.
Is what's in the Camaro,
So
yes.
we actually used a lot of stuff from the Chevelle and put it into the Camaro, the 12 bolt, still running the same MSD box that you had.
The gold MSD box from late 70s.
Yeah, can't complain, still works. But that's when Pop Pop stopped racing full time.
Right.
And then I took over. So when I took over, it was who built the chassis of the first car? It was a NAP car.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was I don't know if it was Randy built the cars for Vinny. But yes, it was through Vinny that we got the chassis.
Yeah, when I started, again, 94, it was still the very early years of junior drag racing.
Second year.
Yeah. So, so we bought the car from them, and then my dad and a friend of his were starting to do like a chassis shop, and they built the body for the car, and it said Spartan Fabrication on the side, and this car, again, it was a wide rear. It's not what these are now, where it's got the narrow rear and all this stuff. It was a very wide back tire rear. It just had a pull start, 5-horse Bridge and Stratton on it. That's how I started, and we ran that, and we ran on the big track at Englishtown. That was before they built the 8th mile. Englishtown built an 8th mile track, which my grandfather ended up working on.
As a starter.
As a starter, and then on Saturdays he'd work the burnout box on the big track. Then we built. Well, my father built my second junior, which was the Jersey Hustler car, and that is the car we won a track championship in my final year. Then we did the Camaro, which I ran in high school class, won track championship and won bracket finals in. And that same Camaro turned into a street eliminator car. We back halved it, but still ran the small 10-inch wide back tires and mufflers and everything like you're supposed to for street eliminator. And then the rear got narrowed. We finished the front of the cage off and put a bigger motor in it. Started going in the 10s, which ended up being my pro eliminator car. 2009, we started to dabble in Super Street, just running a few events here and there. 2010 is when beginning of 2010, we repainted the car, and that's when we started Super Street full time. Ran Super Street all the way up to, I'd say 2019, because in 2020 is when COVID happened, and then in 21 is when the car caught on fire.
The
Duster.
Duster.
Yeah, the Duster.
The Duster you
Yeah, so
started
20
running in 13.
2013, 2014. The end of 2013, I ran this a couple times. Basically, Tuesday nights at ACO, a couple Saturdays in Super Pro, and then we went full-time Super Street racing with it. And then that was all the way up until when it caught on fire in 21. And obviously, as you guys know from the other video, it's It's been a 5-year project, almost done. Should be done, will be done, beginning of this year. And then, yeah, but that Camaro is what we've been running 20 plus years. I've been racing for 30 plus years. Me and him have been doing it together. Like I said in the first video, this is my right hand man. He's the one who dials the car. He's the one that keeps all the stuff going. But yeah, that's a little bit of our background story, and obviously we're getting James running this year. You have another question? What's the other question?
Who made your first junior dragster?
We just said it was Vinny Knapp. Well, you said it was.
I think it was Randy. Don't remember his last name, but
Yeah. But we bought it through Vinny Knapp, and Vinny Knapp was one of the founders of junior drag racing.
I thought it was Andy's who built your first junior dragster.
No. Andy.
I built
Yes.
Andy's car.
Yes. So, but yeah. So that's again, that's a little bit of the background of the Lawrence Racing, Lawrence Legacy Racing that we have going on here. So we're going to start here. We're going to start getting decals on this. So stay tuned, and when you come back, this car should have stickers and everything on it and be ready to go. All right, everybody. So while we put the decals on the junior and we finish that up, I'm going to send you over to Lily and Marie, and they're going to tell you the background of how their story has unfolded and how Lee got started in this as well.
Thank you, Jason. And yeah, welcome to Bracket Racing Underground. Marie and I, we're going to kind of get into a little bit of how we got into racing, obviously from my past, and then Marie coming in, basically back into my life in 2014 and getting back into it, and her thoughts as well. So my racing started in a very early age, as far as my brother, my uncle, getting me into the racing. My father, he was more the antique car guy. He made me a car person, if you will. But my brother, taking me up to Englishtown to watch my uncle on Sundays was always a big part of my growing up. It was a big part of me struggling to go to school on Monday and getting yelled at for it. That was always one of the my parents were kind of if you go, you have to make sure you get up on Monday. But a lot of times, more often than not, Monday was a little bit of a dragging butt type deal, and wouldn't get up, and so I get in trouble, and now I'm not allowed to go racing ever again. And 2 weeks later, my brother is bringing me again.
And that sounds very familiar with Jason and James.
Yeah, it was. Just recently, Jason was saying that, or might have been Sarah saying, if you stay, you got to get up tomorrow. No fighting about it. but yeah, it it trickles down to
Sure enough, the
uh,
next morning he was, I'm tired, I don't feel good. And she
yep.
said, nope, gotta go. That was a promise.
Yeah, that was always a tough part.
Yeah.
But I said it started so early for me. The drag racing in general, it became this it's an addiction. As anybody that's ever been a part of the sport just knows, the adrenaline of just driving the cars, but the family aspect that comes along with it, the friends made over the course of my career all across the country, wouldn't have happened without this style of racing. And then us traveling all over the country, being based in New Jersey, some of my best friends are located in states thousands of miles away, and along with my local friends as well. But it just kind of puts into perspective that friends are all over the place. I've always back when I was kind of traveling the country early in my stock eliminator days from 2001 up to like 2005, 7. I was kind of running around the country, and the best part about it was the friends that were made, but it was to a point where my friends that were here, they would ask me, aren't you afraid traveling that far? You don't know anybody. But the reality is I could pretty much go to any state and I knew somebody that was close. Granted, the states are big, and
Right.
Texas, 880 miles across that one. Don't ask me how I know that. Driven it a couple times, but there was always somebody that I felt like if there was an issue, I could reach out to, and it's still that way today. So the travel didn't bother me, but taking a step back as to getting into the racing, my very first trip down a racetrack was on a Ninja 600 street bike. It was something that I drove to school. It was a buddy of mine had another Ninja 600, and basically tell you the reality of it is to go down the drag strip in New Jersey, you had to be 18 years old. Well, my friend was 18, I was 17, so he would drive my bike through the gate. Sorry, Echo, but doesn't exist anymore, so it is what
Oh
it is.
no.
But so he would drive the bike through because he had no interest in going down the track. But so he would drive my bike through so we could get the number written on it. And when I was 17, and then so I would make a few passes throughout the night, and then away we go home. Had to have a leather jacket. That was the main thing. I don't really think it was leather. It kind of looked like it. It was one of the,
Leather?
it was one of those it was a members only looking type thing,
Right.
but it was I don't think it really passed for leather. If I fell, it wasn't really going to save me. But that's all you had to have at that point. So that was the start of me going down the track. So I proceeded to build a 68 Camaro. And that was a street car started, with, but quickly turned into a race car, as most racers with a muscle type car doesn't stay that way long.
Right.
So Marie's Corvette may find out soon enough
Uh-oh.
also. It's but anyway, fast forward, kind of got into the bracket racing in 95. A friend of mine talked me into running the points, so I did, and was fortunate enough to won the first day I entered the points. And it was like, well, this is kind of easy. It wasn't that hard. It was I driven a car twice, and I won the old time drags with it, and then went to ACO and entered the points, and won that day with it. And 2 weeks later, I'm in the final again. And this is all with a 60 El Camino going 18 seconds and a quarter mile.
Is that your
So
father's car?
that was my father's car. So that was his. That I had broke the 68 Camaro at the old time drags. The transmission went, so my dad showed up, and I'm like, well, that car is definitely old enough because it had to be 73
Yeah.
or older.
Fits the bill.
And so I hopped into the car, and I didn't really know what I was doing. It was just a matter of luck, really. And there was no tack. Again, sorry, Echo, that the seat belts were not correct. I took the lap out of the 68 Camaro to put a seatbelt in it because some of the older uh, people here, they in 1960 there was no seatbelts, so they didn't even have holes for it to be
Okay.
mounted. So didn't have seatbelts back then. So basically, I just tucked them down inside the seat,
Things that
and
won't get away with
when
nowadays.
when I went through tech, I kind of pulled and held my hand, and yep, all right, we're good. And so I got through tech, won the event, and fortunately, I ran the season that way. And I said I ended up winning a couple events with it.
So I'm curious as to what that car ran.
1870s in the
Okay.
quarter. I think it was around maybe 70, 73, 75 miles per hour
Okay.
total.
That makes me feel a
Uh,
little better about the seatbelt
yeah.
situation.
So it was
18-second
it
car.
wasn't really fast. It was there was no tachometer, so I was leaving. I basically left with my foot to the floor.
Right.
It was kind of wild. You could actually hold the brake pedal, floor it, and it would kind of rise up in the air. And then when I'd leave the starting line, it'd do like a reverse wheelie, so it just dropped to the ground. It had no power.
Okay.
But it was just we called it the Batmobile. If anybody, I'll show you a picture of the 60 El Camino. I'll have Jason see if he can post it up there. But it's got the big wings, and it was a neat car, and one I wish we had, and still, to put wherever, not that we have room for more cars, Marie and I. So, but so that kind of got me started in the bracket race in 2001. We decide to get into NHRA. I dabbled a little bit with a Corvette in Super Street in '99. I think we finished sixth that year in a division, and but that was more just a bracket vehicle. Just wanted to go play. Didn't know nothing about throttle stops, nothing like that. And again, fortunately, my first event, we ended up going to the final. Um, just yeah, I think it's kind of shows a little bit about my career. Just go in and do it, and maybe it'll work out.
So I feel you do
Yeah.
better in a challenge. Yes.
Yeah, with a challenge.
Definitely.
If I get too comfortable, that's just kind of why I change cars a lot, I guess. So I get comfortable, I don't do as well. So, but so anyway, we moved into stock eliminator 2001. We ended up getting the Apollo. A family friend of ours bought the car at that point. My brother and I kind of put it together, and it was supposed to only be, we're going to do some local events: Echo, Englishtown, Maple Grove, Cecil County, all kind of within an hour of home. And then as that turned out, we next thing you know, we have a shot at the division, shot at the world. So pickup truck and an open trailer, and I'm
Plans changed. Yeah.
dragging the Apollo across the country, and and we ended up finishing top 10 in the country that year, second in the division, and basically it snowballed from there. So that became my career, and then it became super stock comp eliminator with Al Ackerman and Dave Ring, getting that opportunity, and turned into, again, one of those friendships that have just flourished even when I stopped driving for them, and then even came back and started driving again. um, the friendship is still there.
Yes.
We went to
One of our closest friends.
yeah,
I have to say that it's some are just friendships, but other it's like a family at the racetrack. Like we established a second family at the racetrack, so it's
mhm,
really nice relationships there.
right, and
Everybody's willing to help.
mhm,
Even people that you just don't really associate on a day-to-day basis, like at the track, but something breaks, someone's there. There's a parts call, someone's there. They're not only there with the part, but they're there to help
yeah, we showed that at
get the car back on
Norwalk
the
this
track.
year.
Yep.
Oh, great heavens!
Yeah, we lost the there's a piece came out of the side of the transmission, and we got trans fluid going all over the burnout box. And before we even left underneath the grandstand, I had a couple cars offered any type of work that was needed to be done.
Right.
A guy a couple pair back, his wife hooked up their golf cart and towed us back to the trailer, and then just people coming from every which direction diving in, and
I mean, I
and
remember, I'm sorry, I don't recall which event, but a gentleman had helped you all the way up till I think you guys were the last pair and had to end up running each other.
Right. Yeah,
And he
that
was
was
there the whole time. I mean, he could have just
Adam
came
Davis
over.
at
Adam Davis,
Bristol.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
could have
came
just,
over. Yep.
yeah, I don't remember. It was something with the wiring or whatnot, but he stayed there the whole time, like stayed right by his side to assist him.
Yeah, it was one
And
of the first times that we switched back out of the digital ignition back to an old 6AL.
oh, that's what it was,
And
ignition. Yep.
yeah, that it was actually the Combs Phil Combs brought over an old ignition, in which I had one, but it was at home. But they brought over the ignition, we wired it in there, and was able to make the run. And it was crazy how it worked out. Adam was running the left, I'm in the right, and we're 4 lanes away from each other. But
Yeah.
as the stagger worked out, unfortunately, we had to run each other, and and it just it is what it is, and you move on. But yeah, just the people coming to your assistance anywhere at any time. That's
Right.
always a great thing. So again, I said that progressed through my career to this day. A lot of different rides, a lot of different people, and and traveling the country wouldn't change a moment of it.
Because you're never really alone at the track. There's
Never.
always
No, it's
people to help and
you know,
people to
and
talk to.
with you bringing that up, I'm never alone. There's events that I've gone to recently. Um, Back then, I traveled a lot by myself. I met up with Mark Fall again. New Jersey, Washington State. We would kind of meet up somewhere at an event, and then we travel for like 2-3 months together. And then as things progressed through the season, he went back his way, I went back my way, and you know, so Marie always says, and I don't like to go racing without her now, and ever since 2014, she's been there with me. I don't, I'll do it, but it's not as fun for me. It's not the way I want to do it anymore. So
And I don't want to not be there. I think there's probably only, you could count on two hands how many times I haven't been
mhm,
able to go. And obviously it would be work related reasons or,
yeah, so now we do what we got to do.
yeah.
But so that brings the question as to, in 2014, I kind of brought you into this crazy life that I lead, and
Definitely
you see
is.
what we all lead,
Yeah.
and so going into that, did you, what were certain expectations, or did you have any expectations as to what it was about, or was it just you know I think you've said it. Was it just like a dirty thing that we do, and because it's
Right.
just a bunch of grease,
Yeah.
mechanics
There
racing,
was a
and
lot of things that I didn't understand. Obviously, never being around it, him taking me to the track, me thinking, okay, it's the first person that gets down the track first is the one that wins. Apparently, that's not the case. There was a lot to learn, um, but I was determined to learn and determined to understand the racing. Like, I didn't want to just watch and stand there and not know what's going on. So, that consisted of me asking a lot of questions. And with him
Mhm.
being such a good teacher, he was able to answer all the questions in, I don't want to, so to speak, elementary, for me to be able to take it in and understand, because there was a lot of um, different words and lingos that they used as far as me not understanding, like breakout and trying to think off the top of my
taking
head,
the stripe,
taking
this,
the
that,
stripe,
dropped
yeah,
them, this, that, yeah.
right, scrubbing some off, like just all the little, different words that they use, and I'm like, what are they talking about? So a lot of what he, questions I would ask, I would learn where these things came into play and understand their conversations a little better. But
The craziest part is, like, in 14, it was right around 2015, 16 is when I hopped back into the Bantam for a little bit, and
right,
so unfortunately she had to learn comp eliminator.
which is
Is
very complicated.
So she fed into that quite perfectly,
A
and
whole different world. But I actually enjoyed it. Maybe I like the challenge too, because I enjoyed having to understand a whole different, it's really a whole different world, I think. Um,
she took to it very well.
yeah,
She went from when we first started, to being just checking the tires. that became one of her first jobs. And then when we got into Comp Eliminator, she took it to a whole different level.
Yeah, not only was I checking the tires, but I was pulling them in the burnout. I was towing them up, towing them back, doing fuel check, doing the computer, downloading the run and setting all the beginning, the end of the run, and doing the logbook. And I believe I was also at some points, like I would go up and I would watch, well, I would be up there, but I would watch all the other, knowing the ladder, all the other opponents going and actually keeping track of their indexes and what they were down in their index and stuff like that. That was once I got a little bit of a better understanding of it, which I don't think it took me too
It
long.
didn't take you long at all. No, and she still does that for other people.
Yeah, I'll do that for Al if we're not there.
She'll sit here, she'll watch it on TV and just I think we're helping Al. I think we were helping Rich Prizer at a couple
Yes.
events, and
Yep.
Marie's. I'm sitting there looking at analyzing the runs and this and that, and she's writing everybody down and being able to feed the information. Like, okay, Rich, this guy's down 800s, and
Right.
you're only down 2. You're in control of this. And it made it simple, so I didn't have to do all that. But that was she loves it, and she gets right into it. So that
It's
was
anything I can do to help. I feel like, so
yeah.
I'm there if I can.
That's
And it doesn't even stop there where anything I can do to help. It's I now have a better understanding on the motors, how the combinations work. I think I even spotted out a cracked spring.
Yeah,
Or,
a couple valve springs.
valve
She's
springs.
found those,
Yeah,
and
like
we
just
may have missed.
little cracks. Yep.
She got very good at locating that. She understood the sounds of the motors. One event we were going to with Jack Fisk's Camaro, and we unfortunately had some issues, and you could tell it had a dead hole, and we went to Echo and tested one night, and Jack and I ended up leaving, and Marie showed up. She's like, it's as soon as she walked up, she knew it wasn't right, and and she was correct because we were in you know, the same thing without even telling her. And we left that night. We went home, changed the motor because we were leaving for I think it was Bradenton, Florida, the next day. So Jack and I went home, changed motors, put the other motor in there, and of course Marie had to go to work, so we're like later in the afternoon. We're leaving, and we stopped at the rest area down at the Delaware Bridge, right before you cross the bridge. There's a rest area there, so we stopped there to basically, had to dump the RV, get ready for the trip, and that was right from there. We're heading south. So I dropped the door of the trailer, fired the car up, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we're good." So it was. I just wanted her to know that we were.
I said we're
It
going.
sounded better.
Going a far distance. I'd like to really know that this thing's fixed.
So
I
I started it up for her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that sounds much better." So away we went. It was a little bit slower, but it didn't matter. So, but that's just just a small touch of what she's kind of brought to it. She has learned a lot since the last 11 years that you've been in this.
And you can never know enough, though. That I have to say. Like I'm still learning.
Yep.
After 11 years, so. But I really took to it. Going back to your question, I took to it really well. I enjoy watching it, but had to understand it to watch it. Also like to help, so have to understand the motor end of it and the combinations. And anytime he makes a change on the car, why are we doing this for? For what reason? Oh, we're improving this. So then if we go to look back at why something's not working, maybe I can, since I know what was done and have an understanding of it, I can maybe help and throw out some ideas. And granted, some of the ideas may not be correct, but he'll tell me, a good point, or, and there are times where I am correct. So I really enjoy the racing.
Yep. Okay.
I just took to it well.
It's a good thing because it's as you can see, this is what we do.
Right.
We don't do it as often or as much as we used to. We kind of pick and choose. Again, we've mentioned prior episode there as to where and when we want to go. We are going to get into our schedule choosing at some point soon, and where Jason and I like to go to, and where all of us like to go to. There might be some other events that are new to us. We're willing to give everything a chance, and we're trying a bunch of different things. And but the great part is we can pick and choose where, when. We try to work it around Marie's schedule, my work schedule, a little bit of anything said again, to give us enjoyment. If the weather's looking good in a certain event, but if it's not looking good, then we may pull the plug pretty quickly, and we both are on agreement with that. So it's never a fight, as to where and when or how. It's just whatever we feel is the best thing for us.
Right.
So that's just a little bit about us and how we've gotten started, and where we are today, and now we're bringing you guys along with us. So hope you guys enjoy the ride as much as we have, and we'll be talking to you soon. So sorry we took up a little bit of time here, but we're going to send it back to Jason, and we'll continue on with this episode, and the next one. Please like, share, subscribe. It's the best thing for us right now, and we appreciate everybody taking the ride. So thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.
All right, perfect time to grab yourself a snack and a soda. I'm going to post up a couple of the runs from the past couple seasons. Hope you guys enjoy these. All right, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of Bracket Racing Underground. I got a little bit of behind the scenes of my dad and what drove him to want to do racing and bracket racing. A little bit of us putting the decals on James's car. You happy with how they came out?
Actually, it turned out really good. Can't believe it turned out how I really, really want it to be, like the Duster too.
Perfect. So that'll be this episode for now. We'll have more to come. We're going to probably look to interview Ron Ross when he comes and does the motor, Bud McNasby when he does the wiring. We'll talk to Nickerson when we go to the chassis dyno, get to talk to all these other people, and we'll interview them about their businesses and also talk to them about, what drove them into wanting to do racing and do what they do as well. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode and plenty more to come. Thanks, everybody. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye.